Mike Sills. Yes, sir, baby. Week 3 National Football Show. Senor, thank you very much, man. We had a great time talking to The Rock. And I know many of you checked it out, and thank you so much, man. Got to thank my guy, Tone, for making that interview happen, too, man. He did it on the weekend on his time and put it all together, and Rock's people just were absolutely thrilled with the way Tone was so easy to work with. So, Tone, we throw a lot of love out to you here on making that whole thing happen. So, before we get started, you know, yesterday was a little chaotic behind the scenes a little bit here, so we're going to start our Hooters gift certificate giveaway opportunities for you again. Here's our winners that won last week. Mark Muser, a.k.a. NJ Fishing Maniac. Congratulations to you from Jersey. And Andy Snyder from Delaware, last week's winners. So now you get an opportunity today. With all you have to do is send us an email. Simple. Give us all your information on you being able to give us an idea where you are in the world, and you get an opportunity to win some Hooters gift certificates. Simple as that. And we'll give you a shot. You get the email up. All you have to do is send us that email, and we're going to have a code word that is going to be out there throughout the program over the next 3 hours. And all you have to do is identify that code word, and you get a chance to win yourself an opportunity to get those great gift certificates from our friends at Hooters. There's the information we need. The email is dansileo@gmail.com. And you'll see that code word throughout the entire show. That will be popping up every now and then. So we look forward to you being part of this thing, and we'll name the winners next week. Thank you so much. Just like Mark and Andy here won last week's gift certificates. Before we start out with Eagles, NFL, I do want to hit on one thing with the National Football League, and most notably with the Browns. You know, it's 2 weeks, right? I'm starting to think and starting to lean on the side. If the Browns don't get this right at quarterback, this is maybe turning into one of the absolute biggest disasters in the history of paying quarterbacks. It might be even a bigger disaster than what we just saw in San Francisco with Trey Lance. You know, there wasn't a financial number around that. There were a lot of draft picks in future. You never know what you're getting when it comes to draft picks. But when you put that economic stranglehold on your salary cap like that, and that guy is not panning out and working out, you got it also going on right now in Denver. Look at how important getting that decision at the quarterback position is. Dude, I would die on a sword for those 3 first-round picks that San Francisco may have lost if Purdy works out and they get to an NFC title game. I'm going to swallow that. But $230 million guaranteed? Dude, that's a lot of money on your cap. And you gave up a king's ransom to get him to Houston. That might be the biggest disaster. It's 2 games. They're 1-1, okay? But he has not looked good so far, okay? He has not looked good so far. You know what? I never thought about that, Scott. Baker Mayfield is playing better football right now than Deshaun Watson is. That's a fact. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Mayfield's playing better football than Deshaun Watson right now. Yes, sir. And by the way, that number is falling. It was at 7 at one time. It's now 5 for the next Monday night game, the first game of the doubleheader on ESPN. That number is falling. So let's move on here. By the way, that injury to Nick Chubb. Let me ask you guys something. Let me go here with you on this with Nick Chubb. Let's go here with Nick Chubb here. The running back position in the National Football League. Got to say this to you, man. Why should these running backs put their ass on the line? Why should they put their asses on the line all the time when it comes to playing through injuries? You know, we pray for a speedy recovery. We pray for all his health. But if you're a running back in the NFL, remember guys, I told you, if you're a running back in the NFL, why would I go the extra mile when the National Football League doesn't want to go the extra mile for me? It just makes no sense. Why should I do that when you're not going the extra mile? Chubb gets injured last night, catastrophic injury last night. ESPN's getting kudos for not playing it. Okay, I guess. Why would you want to play that anyway? You know, what are you going to do? Public executions, airing them? No one wants to see devastating injuries to players. You know, well, again, maybe it's America because we stop on highways when it comes to accidents. We slow down to see if anybody dies on the highway. So maybe that's part of the draw to it. I don't know. But, boy, you feel for Nick Chubb. Great football player. A career-threatening injury last night to him. All right. Let's move on here. So Nick Sirianni said that the Eagles are looking for Bradbury, Gainwell, and Blankenship potentially to be able to be ready for this coming Monday. Let me ask you something about Nick Sirianni before we move on here. Do you think Nick Sirianni is a good coach? I'm going to make a comparison to another coach in the league here. How many believe that Nick's the right guy for the Eagles? Getting a little testy, isn't he? And he's 2-0. Funny, isn't it? I don't know 5-star if he's soft. Puppet? No. Hey, go along, get along in today's NFL. I'm not criticizing that. Okay? Bruce goes, I never liked the hire. Interesting. Okay? A good clown coach. Huh. I'll tell you what, there's more dissenters today than there have been in the past. JM goes, depends on how he handles this Johnson dilemma. Pete says elite coach. Quan goes 25-11 ain't soft. I'm glad Quan brought that up. 25-11. Well, I want to throw something at you over the first 3 years of Matt LaFleur's coaching career. He was 39-10 with an 800 win percentage. You think Matt LaFleur is a good coach? Is Matt LaFleur a good coach? 39-10. Hey, Quan, 39-10. Rodgers. Oh, wait a minute. Hurts. Whoa, wait a minute. Hurts. Oh, so you're giving him credit for the 25-11. So Matt LaFleur must be an even better coach then. You think so? Is Matt LaFleur? Matt LaFleur has a great record. Developing a brand new quarterback, too, in the process. Guy was 39-10. His first 3 years, would you consider him one of the elite coaches in the NFL? Everyone's going to land on the pot of Aaron Rodgers. Of course they are. Having Rodgers makes that job a bit easier. Well, I thought having Hurts on the job makes it easier. But I think he will find out more about LaFleur this year with how he develops Love. So then we really don't know how good Nick Sirianni is as a coach. Right, Tone? If Jalen's not there, how do you know Sirianni's a good coach? Sirianni was 2-5 as his play caller. He wasn't helping him. Sirianni's elite, so then Matt LaFleur's elite. Right? See, I'm just trying to use the same metric you're using. Well, hey, Rodgers makes it easy for LaFleur. Well, I'm going to apply that same metric that you did for Matt LaFleur to Nick Sirianni. Common sense would tell me that's how you gauge quarterbacks and coaches. Look at Bill Belichick and Brady. Another great comparison. Over 20 years of those two guys working together. By the way, just 5 years ago, Bill Belichick won a Super Bowl 14-7. Brady had nothing to do with that Super Bowl. That was a defensive wizard coach game. 14-7. Brady made a couple plays, but nothing great in that game. Belichick, that was a 14-7 gem. A gem. That was just 5 years ago. What did Brady do in that Super Bowl? Brady was terrible in that Super Bowl. You're going to give him the credit for that? 14-7? Really? Okay. Interesting how you see coaches. We found out when Hurts got injured last year. Hurts misses 2 games, Sirianni 0-2. Wow. That's a great, I hadn't thought of that. You're right. So think about this on what Tone just said. When Sirianni was the play caller, Hurts was 2-5. When Hurts left the field, Sirianni was 0-2. Not a real good record to hang your hat on if Jalen Hurts is not on the field. So how do you know if Sirianni's a good coach or not? That's always been my point. You don't know that. You have no clue. Most of the time, this shit comes down to coaching and personnel decisions. Hey, and by the way, Minshew just won a game last week with Shane Steichen. Wasn't bad. What was it, 17-21, 171 and a touchdown? He wasn't poor. They won a football game. If you include 2001, Sirianni's 1-3 with Hurts off the field. So when you start talking to me about your coach in Philadelphia, I am so not sold on him yet. I am so not sold. I don't know how he coaches in adverse. See, it's great to be a front runner. And that's what, hey, you're right. By the way, I agree with you. Dude, Matt LaFleur, 39-10, 800 win percentage. Shit, dude. That's a lot of winning. 3 straight years of 13-3. Dude, that's a lot of winning. Rodgers leaves the room? I don't know. LJ goes, Sills is so mad you're 2-0. Bucks are 2-0. I mean, would you consider the Buccaneers a great team? They're 2-0. The Commanders are 2-0. Would you consider them a good team? You're not playing good football right now, and you know it. You're 31st in pass defense. You're giving up 400 yards a game in offense. So before you start barking about how good you are, okay? Before you start barking how good you are, I'd sit there and take a look and remember what we said. Tone and I both said this months ago. hey, this thing's going to take some time. Pat's better D than all 4 of the Super Bowls, not all Tom Brady and TB12. First 2 Super Bowls, I thought were defensive gems by Belichick and special teams, actually. Okay? Special teams. Not playing good football at 2-0. Yeah. You think the Commanders look great? Buccaneers look great? You played Mac Jones and Kirk Cousins and had a last possession drive against you. You had a 20-point lead and a 16-point lead and surrendered it. You think you're playing good ball? You think your quarterback's playing well? How about this? It's regressed. I want to hit on that here in a minute about the passing offense regressing. Again, it's early. I get it. Totally get it. But he didn't lose anybody really except Miles Sanders. But let me ask you something here. Before we get into the topics, okay? Dick Vermeer was on WIP today, and he was talking about Jalen Carter. And he was talking about Jalen Carter, and he compared him to Reggie White. And I was kind of taken by that comment. Eric Bieniemy's cooking over there in Washington, Death Row says. Dick Vermeer compared Jalen Carter to Reggie White. How many people favored that comparison to Reggie White? Comparing Jalen Carter. I'm not saying he's not wrong. Okay? JoJo thinks he's Reggie White. Reggie White's first 4 years, he had 70 sacks. You see that coming out of him? You think Jalen Carter gets 70 sacks in 4 years? Do you really? Do you really see 70 sacks in 4 years? That's his first 4 years, Reggie White's. 70 in 4 years. Do you understand that Brandon Graham has played over a decade and has 50? Quan, I didn't make the comparison. Vermeil did. He might not be that off, though, and I'm going to tell you why here. Remember something here. When Reggie White got into the NFL, he was 24. Okay? He had played the 84 and 85 season with the Birmingham Stallions of the USFL. And in his first year, he had 12 sacks. The second year, he had 11 and a half. When Reggie got into the NFL, he was 24, not 21. That's a huge difference in maturity, playing against pro guys. And remember something about that USFL. Many of those guys that played in that league, especially in the O&D lines, okay, especially in the O&D lines, went on to play in the NFL. So Reggie was kind of conditioned to play in the NFL when he got into the NFL by the USFL. I mean, he was playing against Jim Kelly. He was playing against Ken Hall, who played forever up in Buffalo. Shit, man, that Philadelphia Stars team, Irv Eatman, very good, Chuck. Shit, man, Irv Eatman was a star with the Philadelphia Stars. He was a great O-lineman. There were a ton of good players to get yourself ready once you came into the NFL. So when Vermeil is saying, this kid looks like Reggie White, He's probably looking at the 84 Reggie White with the Birmingham Stallions. Had 12 sacks. That's more realistic. When Reggie came in at 24, his first 4 years were the best 4 years by a defensive lineman, pass rushing wise, I have ever seen in my lifetime. Okay? 70 sacks in 4 years. He's not going to go near that. However, maybe by the time he's 28, he'll have 70. Like, could he be Aaron Donald? You know, at first I was like this when I heard that. 70 sacks over his career, 70. Okay, 70 sacks. So get this. How many years has Brandon Graham played, Tone? He's got 70 sacks. How many years has Brandon Graham played? I first thought that this comparison by Vermeil was over the top. But then I started dissecting a little bit because, hey, by the way, I think he's a very gifted defensive lineman, and he could be better than Jerome. And I've been saying that since draft day, that he could be better than Jerome Brown. Okay? He could be. It's taken Brandon Graham 14 years to get 70 sacks. It took Reggie 4. That's a pretty tall order. And you got an extra game now. Okay? And you have an extra game. But Reggie was primed and prepped by really playing in a second league before he got to the NFL. Sills, when are you going to say you're not sold on Carter? Carson, I said that he was the best player in the draft on draft day. I've never said he wasn't. BG and Carter are two different people. Anyway, so when Vermeil was making those comparisons to him and Reggie, and what I would think what Dick was saying was the impact of the type of player. See, to me, I'm gonna say this, and it's gonna come off absolute. When are you gonna apologize to Davis? At the end of the year, Batman. We'll see how the Eagles play towards the end of the year and if he can maintain this. Because he got out to a great start last year and turned into a turd. We'll see if that happens again. I think that he has more physical attributes than Aaron Donald. Jalen Carter. Now, why do I say that? Aaron Donald doesn't play the run. Jalen Carter plays the run. He's a more versatile defensive tackle than Aaron Donald. At least in my opinion, skill set wise. Aaron Donald's one-dimensional. He's a pass rusher. He does not play the run. He's never played the run. Again, that's the NFL of today, though. Not playing the run. I like that. 215, he is, that's kind of the better comparison, is Sap. Okay? Is Sap. Okay? Is probably Sap. All right? Is probably Sap. Because Sap was a multi-dimensional player. He played the run. They were on those great Buck teams in the early 2000s. And Warren played the run and got you 17 sacks. Donald doesn't do this. I think Aaron, and plus, here's the other thing. Physical stature-wise, Aaron Donald's 6 feet tall. This guy's 6'4" and a half, 325 pounds. I mean, his presence alone, he's bigger in the middle. This guy has the chance to be like that guy in New York with the Jets, Quentin Williams, like that. Quentin Williams, in my opinion, him and Chris Jones, got to throw Donald still in there, are the preeminent defensive tackles in the sport right now. The guy in Washington, too, probably. You could probably put that in there. Guy in Washington, too. Okay? Chris Jones is probably right now the number one guy next to Quentin Williams and Donald. As much as I hate to put Donald in the top 3, because I don't think he is a complete DT. I like defensive tackles that are complete, not one-dimensional. And I get today in the NFL, man, it's all about pass rushing and getting pressure. It's not so much about stopping the run. The guy in Tampa's pretty good. Vita Vea is pretty damn good. That guy's a horse. And Jason Kelce has struggled this year so far. He was better in the Viking game, but he was terrible in the New England game. Already your quarterback has had 7 sacks. That number's so high compared to last year. He's getting hit more. He's totally getting hit more. So at first, again, when I heard Vermeil on IP today and I heard him saying, this guy reminds me of Reggie, I went, this guy's high. This is old man talking. Then he started thinking about it. And I looked at the numbers right away. And then I realized Reggie was 24 when he came into the NFL. In his first year, I think he had those 13 sacks. And I went, well, wait a minute, he's 24. This kid's 21, I think. Shit, he may be 20. I mean, Jalen Carter may be 20. I don't know. I think he's 21. This guy's got a lot more growth. When Reggie came in, there has been no guy in pro football. I like that too. Jeffrey Simmons, man. Okay? Jeffrey Simmons is a heck of a ball player too. Carter, outstanding ball player. Carter has 11 pressures, third most in the NFL, coming off the bench with suspect secondary, according to you. It is a suspect secondary, Prince. You're 31st in pass. Look at what Prince just says. According to you, a suspect secondary, and you're 31st versus Mac Jones. Dude, it's not according to me. It's according to your play. It's according to your play. Not me. Actually, the way your secondary is played has nothing to do with me. You're almost last in pass defense versus bums. Or Kirk Cousins, the Hall of Fame of fantasy football for sure. Okay? Oh, now Mac Jones is elite. Okay. Well, wait till you get a hold of the good ones you're going to be. You haven't played a good quarterback yet. And you got to, hey, what you have played, though, is 2 D coordinators that have figured you out already. Now you get another one that's going to figure you out. Even more so. He's got more intel. Todd Bowles. Why do you think that number's climbed down from 7 to 5? Because they don't believe in your defense. I do think that offense is going to turn around here in a second. I do. It better, or you'll start losing games. I still think you're going to win only 11 ball games this year. We'll see. You're 2-0, just like the 2-0 Bucks. Personally, I'm more impressed with what the Bucks have done than you. I thought the Bucks would be 0-2. They got a wide receiver averaging 120 yards a game. You got the same wide receiver averaging 20 yards a catch. You got a quarterback that's throwing 70% completion percentage and 2-0. Actually, Baker Mayfield's outplayed Hurts. I don't know. More passing yards per game. Team looks good. Defense is only surrendering 17 points, unlike you. You're scoring more points? Absolutely. But so far, Baker actually is making Cleveland look stupid. So let's move into this now. Okay? Hey, by the way, Tone, at 4:30 Eastern, we're going to have Barrett Brooks. At 5:30 Eastern, Philly 500. So we'll get those two guys on. Tone, in the timeout, I'll send you over all of B. Brooks's, unless you have it, Tone, Barrett Brooks's information. Okay, great. Okay, so 4:30 Eastern, Barrett's going to join us from NBC Sports Philadelphia. That'll be at 4:30, and then Philly 500 will join us at 5 o'clock or 5:30 Eastern. That'll be in hour number 3. All right. Let's do this here. So Dallas Goedert was also on WIP today, and he's very disappointed in his role in the passing game. That makes the second Philadelphia Eagle disappointed in his role in the Eagle passing game. This next game, they're going to force the ball to AJ because they don't want him crying. Funny you should say that. So you had a player moaning on the sidelines in A.J. Brown, and now you got a player moaning on the air over the Philadelphia airwaves saying that I'm very disappointed in my role in the passing offense. So you got two guys in your passing game that are publicly disappointed in the passing game right now. Am I wrong? I listened to the interview. He didn't want to single Jalen out or Brian Johnson, the OC. So what he did was he used himself. Who's the other? A.J. Brown. The argument on the sideline. I'm open. Who's bitching? I just told you. Dallas Goedert and A.J. Brown. That's not an opinion. We saw it and heard it. This is not an opinion. Goddard went on the air today, and Philly's saying, I'm disappointed in my role in this offense. AJ was on the sideline bitching about being open and not getting the ball to him. What else do you need to know? I can guarantee you that conversation on the sideline wasn't about what they were going to eat for dinner, and there was a contradiction in who was going to pick up the tab. Dallas Goedert quote, my part in this pass game hasn't been as big as I want it to be yet, but I believe it will come. Okay? He believes it will come. Many of you do too. But the run game, that just gives me an opportunity to go out there and kind of impose my will on people. The back end of that comment, in my opinion, is nothing. The front end of that comment is the context of the comment. My part in the passing game hasn't been as big as I wanted it to be yet. The rest of that is for the media to dissect it and soften the blow. Okay? The other part of that is so you don't put a direct bullseye on Hurts and Brian Johnson and Sirianni. The front end of a comment is what you look at because that's the context of a comment. It's called a topic sentence. The rest of it's filler. My part in the passing game hasn't been as big as I want it to be yet. That's the quote. That's the exact quote. The rest of it, dissect it any way you will. Doing this too long to know what a bullshit back end is to make sure you soften it so you don't target your quarterback. That's the difference between me and many people. I'm behind the mic and Ben in front of the mic. Okay? So, and you had a wide receiver on the sidelines bitching at your quarterback. That's not bitching. You're trying to spin it. You're the media now. So wait a minute. You didn't see a wide receiver bitching at Hurts. And you couldn't read that quote and know exactly what he was saying. Wow. Because you want to hear what you want to hear. Well, let's get into it. 2 games in. Agreed. 2 games in. Why has the passing game regressed? Shit, the Cowboys got a brand new coordinator. They look great. Rhythm, timing. The offense looks like it. I mean, Pollard is a factor. I mean, the whole thing looks great. Tell you what, it's been an upgrade for the Cowboys having Mike McCarthy as a play caller over Kellen Moore. Chargers are 0-2. That's because Brian Johnson and Nick don't know how to read defenses from the sideline and make adjustments. That's quarterback's responsibility, isn't it? JoJo goes, we look great at 2-0. So do the Bucs. Let me, one more time, why has the passing game regressed where you got players wondering what their roles are in the passing game? Oh, and he's right. He gets to inflict his will in the run game because that's who you are. You're not a, that's right. You got two players questioning their role in the passing game. What's happened? Pretty much the same personnel. What's happened? Missing Isaac Seumalo? Could be. 7 sacks. Quite frankly, I really don't think the offensive line is pass protected very well. They don't look very good. Run blocking, they're spectacular. Pass probe, they're not. It's been okay. Dak has 23 yards more than Hurts over 2 games. How is that? Wheels, why do you have 2 offensive players complaining about their passing roles? One guy did it publicly on the sidelines in a game, and the other guy is not happy with his role in the passing game now, but he's, what was it? Let me go over here. He's thrilled to death that he can go into the run game and inflict his will, giving me more. I'm talking about your passing game. You still have 2 guys complaining about their roles. What's changed? Can it really be Brian Johnson? Is it all Brian Johnson? Let me say this to you. Who do you blame more in this? For you having personnel guys complaining about their roles. By the way, you could dissect anything you want. All you have to do is hear the guy talking and see the guy complaining. You don't need a UN translator. What's changed? Anyone? OC. OC's bad. So it's all on Brian Johnson. I thought it was the same offense. So it's Brian Johnson's responsibility. Well, that's funny. That's Howie's. So Howie hired the wrong coach. Is that what you're saying? Or is it Nick? Some of you think it's Nick. So Howie hired the wrong coach. Is that right? Last year, he hired all the right coaches. Both those guys got head coaching jobs. So this year, with better personnel, he hired the wrong guy. Is that right? See, actually, I'll tell you this. I actually think Sean Desai, with all the broken pieces that they have on defense, I actually think he's doing an okay job over there. I actually do. Even with the pass defense being where it is, he's got a lot of injuries he's dealing with. Even Reddick's injury is a factor. I think Desai, and I believe that they're winning ball games with 2 reasons. I think they're winning it with their run defense and their run game. That they're not playing very well in their pass game and in their pass defense. They're winning it because of their run defense and also their run offense. And until those other components come around and they can figure it out throwing the ball, we said they could not afford having 3 and outs. And that's the reason why you're seeing the 31st ranked pass defense, because the offense is fluttering and it's stuttering out of the gate. And we said that couldn't happen. And then when you start sustaining injuries, that is going to be a disaster. You're 2-0. Absolutely. Absolutely. You're 2-0 because you have the better personnel versus these two teams you've played. If you play a better quarterback or you play one of these elite guys, look at what Brian Flores had. He had a shit defense. It's one of the worst defensive groups in the entire league. That Viking team's not making the playoffs, and nor is that Patriot team. Those teams ain't making the playoffs. We're not going back to the Super Bowl, and I'm okay with it. You shouldn't be, Turner, because the NFC's not that good. The top teams got, to me, I think the 49ers got better, and I think the Cowboys got better. Now, the Brandon Ayuk injury could be an issue because I think he's been their best wide receiver in San Francisco. Okay? I do. I think he's better than Deebo Samuel. Christian McCaffrey and I would say Tony Pollard in Dallas have been spectacular. They've been spectacular. So you're blaming the offensive coordinator. Okay, what's the offensive coordinator doing wrong in your eyes that has changed this offense around? I'm trying to get a sense on where you guys are thinking on why the offensive coordinator is not the right fit so far. Because quite frankly, get this. You lost. Is Miles Sanders more of an issue than we thought? Why did you deactivate or not deactivate, not use DeAndre Swift in game 1? Turns around and gets 173 yards in game 2, and you didn't play him in game 1. Now, is that a coaching decision? Was that a game plan decision? And by the way, what's Rashad Penny doing on the roster? What's he doing on the roster? I mean, is he part of the 53-man roster? Why do you have him on the roster? He's been a non-factor. I mean, what are you just trying to like save him until the playoffs? Okay, I guess. I don't know. What has changed so far out of the gate? I'll tell you what, I thought Jalen was great in that Detroit game. I thought he was great in the Washington game. I think Washington was the second game last year. Am I right? What's changed? What's different? Well, you got two guys, however you want to look at it, that are not happy with their roles in the offense. Brown and Goddard. Anyone? So you're just going to blame the OC. $250 million is not affecting that guy. It is not affecting Jalen Hurts. The money is the least thing. It's the Z. If there's a list from A to Z, the money's Z. The money is Z in my eyes. Okay? That's not a kid that's going to be swayed or changed by money. Okay? He's not chasing money. Comes with the rewards of success. But I don't look at him as a guy that's chasing that. I look at a guy like that that's part of the rewards for hard work. And like I said, there's a list A to Z, that's Z. Nowhere near the top. $250 million. Okay? People on here said the Vikings have a great passing defense. It's ridiculous. Their whole defense blows. Barb, it's terrible. That defense, there's nothing on that defense. Zero. Vikings have one of the worst groups on the planet. But they have a good coordinator in Brian Flores. That's coaching. Remember I told you, NFL is coaching. You have to have better coaches because when you don't hit on players and you pay them, you got to play them anyway. That's why when you see in the NFL, some guys that you go like this, why is he on the roster? Why is he playing? You got to pay him. And if you're paying him, you got to coach him. That's part of the mistake. That's why the thing I said, and I opened the show with Watson. You traded draft choices away, and you got a ton of money, $230 million guaranteed. All wrapped up in that guy, that could be the biggest disaster in the history of the National Football League if that doesn't start looking better. Elite goes, Burrow's 0-2. He has sucked too. Yeah. Dude, you're under some impression here. I'm not an equal offender. I'm an equal offender. Okay? I thought Josh Allen was spectacular this past weekend against the Raiders. Couple drops, couple misses, 3 touchdowns, no turnovers. They reeled him in. There was no real plus 25. Absolutely. He was great in that Raider game. Justin Herbert, 0-2. He sucked too. Oh, and Kellen Moore was the OC for Dak last year. Huh, interesting. Remember what I told you yesterday about coordinators? Can I tell you what Brian Johnson's biggest problem is? Brian Johnson's not looking to win games. He's looking to put points and numbers up, passing yards. 99% of the coordinators, this is what their job is, to score points and to put up as many yards as they can. Mike McCarthy taking over is trying to win a game. Shane Steichen is trying to win a game. Some coordinators want to put a lot of yards up. Some coordinators want to put a lot of points up because that's their role. Some coordinators get it, and those are the ones that go on to be good head coaches. That's why Mike McCarthy and Andy Reid, punting is okay. Playing in your special teams is okay. How many times do you see teams that put up a shit? Like having Kellen Moore in Los Angeles is a downgrade. He wants to put as many points up as he can. He wants to put as many yards as he can, but they're empty calories. You're not winning games. You're not helping your team. Run the frickin' ball. You got a lead and you're up by 10. Stop throwing the ball plus 25. Run it. If the other team comes back on you, then you open it up more. But some of these guys can't manage a game. Brian Johnson's struggling managing a game right now. That's how I look at him. Let me ask you this. Since the passing game is taking some time to develop right now, what's your course of action to slowly open up the offense? Do you lean more on your running game with the running backs? Last year when they got out of the gate, and it's a good question Tone asked. Last year when they got out of the gate because they were running the shit out of the ball. They slowed the game down. They simplified it. Hurts had 7 games last year where he threw under 180 yards, and they won 6 of those games. Eagles win in the trenches and impose their will. Correct. That's who they are. That's their identity. They're fighting that identity. They're fighting the identity. I mean, they're trying to throw all the – and by the way, you know, I'd like to see a little more screen game going on here too. Tom Brady made a living for 20 years doing that. Dude, I think you got to simplify your passing game. I think you've got to target what you did a year ago. You target one guy, then you run the ball. That was their identity a year ago. They're trying to spread it out. That's why you got multiple guys complaining. Because you know why? Every guy knew last year their time was coming. And everybody shared that role. Well, now you have multiple guys complaining about their roles in the passing game. Dallas Goedert's trying to be a good teammate, and he is being a good teammate, but he's saying, hey, the passing game, I'm not happy with my role in it. I love the fact that I get to impose my will in the run game, but his first his first thought was he's not happy with his role in the passing game. You can't dissect it any other way. And then you got a guy on the sideline complaining about it because they're seeing different things this year and the approach is different. That shows you too. When you can have the same, I told you this, you can have the same freaking playbook in front of you. But if you have two fundamentally different people in how they see the game, it won't matter. It'll look completely different. One thing I will say, a promising sign from Johnson was seeing him dig his heels in with the running game versus Minnesota. He could be learning. Is that a fair observation? Or they surrendered. And it does take a coach. Our passing games is not where it needs to be. That's why you saw Lane Johnson going like this. Let's go. Lane Johnson said, let's run the ball. They can't stop us. There's nothing wrong with that. Does it really matter how you knock a guy out? Whether it's a lucky punch or you hit him in the 5th or 6th, or if you knock a guy out in a heavyweight championship fight in the 1st round or the 10th round or the 12th round, does it matter? You're trying to George Foreman has the greatest football mentality of all time. George used to say this, I'm not trying to win rounds. I'm trying to win the fight. Hurts has looked like Justin Fields. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Not remotely close. Justin Fields is bombing in Chicago. Okay? Bombing in Chicago. Now, I think it's organizationally, and I think, quite frankly, as I said, with him coming out, I saw him struggle against Indiana when he was at Ohio State. I never saw it. Now, if you're looking for a 4x100 team relay guy, he's perfect. If you're looking for an NFL quarterback, he ain't. Tyrod Taylor's better. Teddy Bridgewater's better. They are better. Both of those guys have been to Pro Bowls. Justin Fields is not a Pro Bowler. Okay? And you know what? When you guys, listen, the dumbest thing that you people bring up is a record. Nobody gives a shit about the record. They care about getting to the postseason. They care about getting to the conference title game. They care about winning a Super Bowl. So when the Patriots were undefeated and playing the 10-6 Giants, do you think the Giants talk like you idiots that care about the record? You're 19-1 over the last 20 games. And congratulations. You got a participation medal. Good deal. No one cares. You're talking to be 19-1 and you got a participation medal? Who cares? As far as I'm concerned, you're like the Niners. You just went one game further. What's the difference between you and the Niners? Oh, we went to the Super Bowl and lost. Okay? Congratulations. You went one game further and took it on the chin. I don't know what else to say to you. In the NFL, it's not about wins. It's about winning the game and being the team that wins the last game of the season. There's nothing else. 38-35, silver medal. Absolutely. Gives a shit about the silver medal. Okay? The path to get there is important. So let me ask you this, JM. So when the Patriots were in the division in the Brady era, and the Bills blew, the Jets blew, and the Dolphins blew, and they knew that they were most likely going to sweep the AFC East, you think they looked at their journey and was really a tough journey for them to get to the postseason in those 20 years. The majority of the 20 years that Brady had in New England was when the division was at its worst, maybe in NFL history. You ever put that into context? So Brady knew they were getting to the playoffs. They knew they were getting there. Brady's not gauged on winning AFC East titles. The path taken is overrated. You beat who's in front of you. I mean, that type of talk is for the national media. Dude, this is about winning championships. Absolutely. This is all about championships. We're talking about it. We're talking about an organ. Hey, you know what kills me about you guys? You guys think that this is shit talking. I say this is tough love about who you are right now. And the quicker you find out who you are, the better off you'll be. If you keep denying who you are, you're not going to win shit. Once you know your problems and you can fix them immediately, that's how you become a better team. Not sitting around talking about telling me how great Hurts in the passing game is and how great your pass defense is. You'd be difficult. Some of you in here would be difficult to coach. Because the coach is going to come to you and go, you think Jeff Stoutland's happy with the way that the Eagles are pass protecting to start the season? Or do you think he's doing what you guys are doing? Oh, we have the best old. Hey, you guys are the best in the NFL. Don't worry about it. We're 2-0. Or do you think this? 7 sacks. He's getting hit more. He needs more time. Lane, that was a missed assignment. Mulatto, week 1, you were horrible in the pass game. Week 2, better. Landon, you played really well in the Viking game. You sucked in the Patriot game. Hey, Jason, you look like an old man in game 1. Game 2, good. And I would say this to Cam, pick it up, son. Pick it up. Or there's going to be a new name on the depth chart. That's how coaches talk to you. Not with this bullshit here. Well, you know, we're 2-0. We got it really good. Nobody talks like that in the NFL. Nobody talks like that. You think the Eagles give a shit they're 2-0 right now as players? Do you know how many times during a season when things are going well, you don't even know what your record is? Do you know when you're preparing for an upcoming team, I'll guarantee you half that room in NovaCare Center has no idea the Bucs are 2-0. They have no idea. The record's the least thing you care about. Because you got a job in front of you, blocking Vita Vea. You think Jason Kelce gives a shit about the Bucs being 2-0 when he's got Vita Vea on his nose? How dumb can you guys be sometimes? No one gives a shit about your record. Maybe that's why the difference between me and you. Because nobody cares. Nobody cares what your record is. Only the fans do. But when you're a player, Jason Kelce's doing this. This guy takes up a ton of room. Hey, they're 2-0. I got to worry about this guy's hands and his feet. Because this guy is a mother you-know-what. Hey, dude, he's an elite player. And I'll tell you, their linebacking core is some of the best in the NFL. Devin White, Shaq Barrett. Shaq Barrett's on a mission, too. Lost his child in the offseason in a drowning situation. Tell you what, man, he's playing in honor of his daughter, and he is a possessed dude right now. I mean, Todd Bowles is like, that's a different guy, man. He is not very happy with anything. He's playing in honor of his kid, and I'm telling you something. That guy, I know people down there, man, they're saying this dude's a frightening guy right now. And he's playing like his hair's on fire. Just saying, man. That Devin White is a run-stopping bitch. And then you got a nose. If Jason Kelsey can't handle Vita Vea in this game and they stop the run, it's going to be up to Hurts' arm. Who's covering Mike Evans? Slay? Well, Slay last week gave up 150 yards to Jefferson. Jefferson's big problem, fumble. No one remembers the 150 and the 10 catches or 11 catches. Shit, the other guys, TJ Hawkinson had 70. You don't have a guy on that team that could cover any of them dudes. Now, Bradbury, getting him back I'll tell you another thing that Sean Desai did that I thought was brilliant. Remember when they were practicing him in the slot during the camp? And they put him in the slot during the camp? Well, guess what? It's played out where they may need him there. Relax, Sills. We just signed Mike Hawk from Pitt. Who? Can they handle Jalen Carter? Is Ryan Jensen, is he on the IR? Is he playing? He's a pretty good center. He'll be the best center they've played because Jalen played 2 backup centers in New England and also in Minnesota. By the way, one more time, I'll say this again to you, that when you are, and with the advantage, when you're playing against a second-team guy, that's not on you. Those 2 guys have done their jobs. The interior lines of those 2 teams, they dominated. They should. And they're doing their job. You're patting people on the back for doing their job. Jalen Carter gets the pats because he's a rookie. Okay? Jensen's done? Okay. Well, then those 2 guys should dominate the middle. Absolutely. They should dominate the middle. Barrett Brooks will join us at 4:30 Eastern time. Then Philly 500. I can't wait to get his thoughts on the O-line. Another thing Desai did in week 2 versus the Vikings was relieving the linebackers from having to cover tight ends and put the responsibility on the safeties. That was smart. I saw that too. It lessened the potential damage of Hawkinson getting beat over the top. Correct. I believe Desai truly understands his personnel more than Gannon. I told you, I don't really have a problem with Sean Desai. I really don't. I think he's making it work. And the numbers are terrible pass defense, but I told you that we all told you that was going to be that way. We told you that was going to come up like that. This thing will look better after week 8. Give it a little time here, man. Can the Buccaneers beat the Eagles on Monday night? We're going to hit on that. Hey, football. We love the fact that the National Football Show has an official home. That is Hooters, Northeast Hooters. Go to northeasthooters.com to find one of the 7 locations nearest you. We're going to be in town real soon in a couple days, and I invite everybody to come over to the King of Prussia one where we're going to have them. We're going to be doing a great remote there. We're going to be doing an appearance there. We're going to be doing it pretty much each and every single month, man. Do me a favor. Please go to northeasthooters.com to find one of the 7 locations in the entire Northeast area. If you don't want to go into any of the locations, go to hooterstogo.com. You get their great grub, man. Tuesdays, buy 10 wings, get 10 boneless free. Wing Wednesdays, $19.83. All you can eat. Kids eat for free on Saturdays. $6, 6 items. Tried the fried pickles. You'll love them. northeasthooters.com. And when you roll into any one of the Hooters, do me a favor. Tell them Big Sil sent you.
Football and Hooters.